Madea never imagined she'd be traveling overseas at her age, but when her grandniece Keisha announced she was having a destination wedding in Jamaica, Madea had no choice but to tag along. The whole family convinced her it would be a vacation, but Madea was suspicious. She knew family drama always found her, no matter where she went. She packed extra wigs, her best sandals, and a whole lot of sass, ready for anything that came her way. The arrival in Jamaica was chaotic. Everyone was arguing over luggage, taxi fares, and hotel rooms. Madea nearly cursed out a hotel manager when he tried to explain island time after her room wasn't ready. While others tried to relax, Madea sniffed trouble in the air. Families from both the bride's and groom's side were already giving each other shady looks at the welcome dinner. Keisha was nervous about her fiancé, Darren, and his very controlling mother, Mrs. Whitfield. She pulled Madea aside and admitted she feared her mother-in-law would ruin the wedding. Madea puffed her cigar and promised Keisha that no one was going to ruin her big day. Not while Madea was there. She swore she'd keep the peace, though her version of peace often involved tough love and a sharp tongue. During the rehearsal dinner, sparks flew between Keisha's outspoken cousin Tasha and Darren's uptight Uncle Charles. Arguments about food, music, and even the seating chart escalated to yelling across the table. Madea slammed her hand on the table so hard the plates rattled, silencing everyone. She reminded them that they were in paradise, not prison, and warned she wouldn't tolerate foolishness. Meanwhile, Uncle Joe was in rare form, hitting on every woman at the resort, including the bride's best friend and the wedding planner. His antics embarrassed the family but kept everyone laughing. Madea, however, threatened to throw him into the ocean if he didn't behave. The mix of comedy and chaos made the trip feel like anything but a relaxing getaway. Things got worse when Mrs. Whitfield insisted on changing Keisha's wedding dress, flowers, and even the vows. She wanted a society wedding instead of the tropical celebration Keisha dreamed of. Madea confronted her head-on, telling her to back off before she ended up wearing seaweed to the ceremony. Mrs. Whitfield called Madea uncivilized, sparking a showdown that the entire family witnessed. The next morning, gossip spread like wildfire that Darren was having cold feet. Some relatives claimed they saw him talking to an ex-girlfriend who lived on the island. Keisha cried in her room, doubting everything. Madea barged in, slapped sense into the situation, and told Keisha not to let rumors ruin her happiness. Still, she secretly went to investigate Darren herself. Madea caught Darren with the ex, but it wasn't what it looked like. The woman was asking Darren for help with a family issue, and he was simply being kind. Madea grilled him until he swore his loyalty to Keisha. Satisfied, she warned him that if he broke Keisha's heart, she'd personally drag him through the Caribbean sand until he begged for forgiveness. Back at the resort, Uncle Heathrow lost his voice box after trying to smoke cigars on the beach, creating another layer of comic relief. The family alternated between laughter and stress as the big day drew closer. Keisha remained unsure if Darren's family truly accepted her, and she relied on Madea to keep her grounded. On the wedding eve, the families gathered for a joint bonfire celebration. Old rivalries resurfaced, and Darren's cousin insulted Keisha's background, calling her too ghetto. Madea snatched the microphone and gave a fiery speech about love, respect, and family unity. She reminded everyone that marriage wasn't about class or money, but about two people standing together. The night turned wild when Uncle Joe tried to join the local dance contest and ended up pulling a muscle. Instead of sympathy, the family roared with laughter. Madea shook her head, muttering that fools come in every generation. At least the laughter lightened the tension before the wedding day. Finally, the wedding morning arrived, and everything that could go wrong seemed to. The flowers wilted in the heat, the officiant got lost, and Keisha's dress zipper broke. Panic spread quickly, but Madea stayed calm and resourceful. She found spare flowers, tracked down a backup officiant, and fixed the dress with duct tape and determination. When Mrs. Whitfield tried to cancel the ceremony because it wasn't perfect, Madea physically blocked her path. In front of everyone, she told Mrs. Whitfield that the only thing that mattered was Keisha and Darren's love. Mrs. Whitfield's pride was wounded, but she finally backed down, realizing her son's happiness was more important than her reputation. The ceremony finally began on the beach with the sun setting over the ocean. Keisha looked radiant, Darren beamed, and the families sat together nervously. Madea stood in the back with her arms crossed, making sure no one disrupted the moment. As the vows were exchanged, even Mrs. Whitfield shed a tear. Just when things seemed perfect, a sudden rainstorm hit, drenching everyone. Instead of panicking, the couple laughed and danced in the rain, encouraging their guests to join in. Madea, surprisingly, joined the dance floor too, cigar in hand, showing that joy could overcome any obstacle. After the storm passed, the reception carried on in a joyful spirit. Food, music, and dancing turned the night into a true celebration of love. Old grudges seemed to dissolve in the festive atmosphere. Madea even gave Darren's family a begrudging nod of approval for finally loosening up. Uncle Joe attempted to give a toast but rambled about his own failed marriages, sending everyone into hysterics. Madea yanked the microphone away before he could say too much. She then gave her own toast, heartfelt and funny, reminding Keisha and Darren to always put each other first, no matter what life threw at them. As the night ended, Keisha thanked Madea for everything. She admitted she couldn't have survived the chaos without her. Madea brushed it off, pretending not to care, but her smile betrayed her pride. She loved seeing her family happy, even if she'd never say it outright. The families left Jamaica with new memories and a newfound respect for each other. Keisha and Darren started their marriage on a strong foundation, knowing they had faced drama and survived together. The trip wasn't what anyone expected, but in true Madea fashion, it was unforgettable. Back at home, Madea unpacked her suitcase, shaking her head at the madness she endured. Yet deep down, she was glad she went. She realized that love, family, and laughter were worth every bit of trouble. She poured herself a glass of sweet tea, leaned back in her chair and muttered, "Lord, next time we staying local." As the couple settled into married life, they invited Madea to stay with them for a few weeks to help adjust to the new routines. Madea, of course, turned their home upside down with her strict rules, early morning wake-up calls, and constant advice about how to keep a man in check. Keisha laughed, but Darren quickly realized living with Madea was like having a second boss in the house. One evening, Darren's friends came over for a small dinner party, and Madea overheard them joking about bachelor freedoms. Without hesitation, she marched into the room and gave them a lecture about loyalty, love, and respect for women. Though embarrassed at first, Darren later thanked Madea for putting his friends in their place and teaching him that marriage was about building trust. Before heading back to her own home, Madea left the couple with a handwritten letter full of wisdom and humor.